My name is Emily Carter, I'm 29, and I never expected my sister's voice to echo in my mind the day I signed the deed to her childhood home. If you've ever felt overlooked or betrayed by your own family, leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Like this video and subscribe for more stories like this. It started with a birthday. Not mine, of course. My birthdays had always been a quiet affair, but Rachel's? Rachel's birthdays were production-level events. Banners, catered dinners, a custom cake from that French place downtown. That year, I had just landed a promotion at work, and for the first time, I'd saved enough to take Mom and Dad out for dinner. Just us. My treat. But when I called to ask if they were free Saturday night, Mom barely let me finish. "Oh, honey, we're flying out to Aspen with Rachel and Brandon. It's her 33rd. You should understand. It's not every year a woman turns 33 unmarried," she laughed. Oblivious. I didn't say anything. Didn't remind her that I'd turned 29 just 2 days earlier and got a 2-line text. "Happy birthday. Hope you're doing okay." I didn't even ask what she meant by doing okay. Instead, I ordered takeout, turned off my phone, and tried not to think about how familiar that quiet loneliness felt. Rachel had always been the golden child. Gifted, radiant, and relentlessly praised, even when she failed. When she got a C in high school calculus, Dad said, "It's probably the teacher's fault." When I brought home an A- in biology, he frowned. "You should aim higher, Em." That was the tone of my entire childhood. Still, I kept trying, even into adulthood. I invited them to my graduation. Rachel's husband's dental conference was apparently more important. I sent them pictures when I bought my condo. Dad joked I should have saved longer and gotten one closer to Rachel's neighborhood. Every milestone of mine was met with disinterest or casual dismissal. Every mistake of Rachel's was brushed away, gilded in excuses. And yet, I still kept calling, still tried to earn something that maybe never existed, until that afternoon last fall. Rachel had just gotten a new car, a ridiculous luxury SUV with her name stitched into the leather seats. I saw it on Instagram. My mother had reposted it, captioned with, "So proud of our baby girl. She always knew how to go big." No mention that I'd just opened my own design studio the week before. I didn't even get a call. But that day, Rachel called me. Out of the blue, I almost didn't answer. "Hey, Em," she said casually. "I heard you moved offices or something." "Yeah, started my own thing." "Cute," she replied, like I'd opened a lemonade stand. She hesitated, then added, "Listen, Mom and Dad are thinking of selling the old house. You know, the one we grew up in. They want to help me with a down payment on the new place." Something pinched in my chest. "They're selling it to help you?" "Well, yeah, I need to upsize. Brandon's firm wants us closer to the city. It makes sense." My voice felt tight. "That house, it's got memories." "Sure," Rachel said, her tone flattening. "But memories don't pay the bills. Besides, you'll never really catch up, Em. I mean, no offense, but you've always been kind of slow with the life stuff." I didn't say anything, just let that silence settle. Heavy. She'd hung up like it was nothing, like she hadn't just sliced something wide open with a smile in her voice. I stared at my reflection in the darkened office window, wondering how many times I'd been told I was less than, and how often I'd believed it. That night, I made a list of 3 things they'd never see coming. I didn't need their validation anymore. I needed closure. And I had a plan. Rachel was born 2 years before me, but it felt like 20. Even in childhood, she was a star. When she sang at the school talent show, the whole family came, grandparents, cousins, even our neighbor from 2 streets over. When I won first place in the spelling bee the next year, cousins. Mom said, "Oh, is that today? We'll make the next one, sweetheart." Cousin. They never made it. I grew up in Rachel's shadow, but the funny thing was I didn't even notice at first, not until my 12th birthday. I'd invited 5 friends over. We had balloons and cupcakes I helped Mom make the night before. But that morning, Rachel threw a tantrum. She wanted to go to the mall with her friends instead, and said my party was a baby thing. Mom canceled the party without even consulting me. Said Rachel's feeling fragile today, we'll do something next weekend. We never did. That was the year I stopped asking for much, and the years after just layered on top of that moment like bricks. High school? Rachel got her own car at 16. I used the bus until I graduated. College? They drained my college fund to help her with her divorce settlement. She married too fast, and it fell apart within a year. Dad said, "You're tough. You'll figure out another way." I did. Scholarships, jobs, ramen noodles for dinner. When I finally earned my degree, I sent out 5 invitations to graduation. Rachel didn't show. Mom said they were emotionally drained from all the drama last year. I stood alone in a sea of families, my name echoing through the auditorium like it belonged to a stranger. But even then, I didn't get angry. I just kept moving, kept trying, because in my mind, I thought maybe if I just proved myself enough, they'd finally see me. After college, I took the first design job I could get. It wasn't glamorous, it barely paid. But it was mine. Meanwhile, Rachel was bouncing between sabbaticals, cushioned by Mom and Dad's wallet. She took yoga retreats and posted about spiritual awakenings. I worked 60 hours a week and fixed leaky sinks in my 1-bedroom apartment. Whenever I called home, the conversation circled back to Rachel, her big ideas, her heartbreaks, her potential. No one ever asked how I was doing. They assumed I was fine, because I never caused trouble, never asked for money, never cried loud enough to make anyone uncomfortable. When Rachel started dating Brandon, the dentist with the house on the lake, I knew Mom saw him as salvation. She finally found someone on her level, she told me. I remember that line vividly. On her level. I'd been running a team of junior designers by then. I'd pitched a rebrand for a small firm that landed them 2 new clients. No one at home even knew. That silence started to define me. It's strange how people shape you more through what they don't say. Every time they forgot a birthday, brushed off a win, or redirected a conversation back to Rachel, it added another invisible wound, and I learned to cope with them like calluses, not pretty, but strong. Then came the breaking point. That call, when Rachel said she was using the proceeds from our childhood home to buy a bigger one for herself, our home. The one I used to hide in during thunderstorms, the one I cried in after being bullied at school, the only house that ever felt like mine, even when the people inside it didn't. She was going to erase it like it meant nothing, just another transaction. And what stung worse, Mom and Dad were offering it up without hesitation. No conversation, no courtesy call. Rachel got the home. I got the echo. That's when the numbness turned to fire. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just started making calls. To real estate agents, to old neighbors, to a friend who worked in property law. I didn't know what would happen next, but I was finally moving for me. Not for applause, not for approval, and definitely not for their acceptance. The first call I made was to a realtor named Denise. She was the one who'd helped me lease my first office space 2 years ago, back when I could barely afford the deposit. "Denise, I need to know the second 423 Hillcrest goes on the market," I said. There was a pause. "That's your parents' house, right?" "Yeah," I said, "but don't mention anything to them. Just let me know the minute it's listed." She hesitated for only a moment before replying, "You got it." A week later, it happened. An email alert. A simple listing, my childhood home, reduced to square footage and bullet points. The price was aggressive. Clearly they were hoping for a quick sale. Denise called me 30 minutes later. "You want to tour it?" "No," I said. "I want to make a full cash offer. Contingency free." She went quiet. "Emily, are you serious?" "Very. I had the funds. I'd been saving for a second investment property. I wasn't planning on spending it on this. But suddenly, I couldn't imagine spending it on anything else." That night, Rachel called me again. "I assume you saw the listing," she said. I kept my voice flat. "I did. I'm just saying, if you're thinking about bidding, don't bother. I've already spoken to Mom and Dad. They're practically holding it for me." I didn't answer. "I mean, I get it. You're trying to be..." "What? Assertive?" "But Come on, this isn't your lane. That was the moment something inside me finally snapped. Not in rage, not even in sadness. It just broke clean, like glass under pressure. You're right, I said. It hasn't been my lane, but maybe that's about to change. She laughed. Actually laughed. You're cute. Let's grab lunch next week. Catch up, yeah? Sure, I said, already knowing we wouldn't. The next day, my offer went in. $15,000 above asking. Denise submitted it at 8:03 a.m. By noon, it was accepted. No counter, no delay, no warning to my parents or sister. The house was mine. I closed quietly. Didn't post anything. Didn't tell a soul outside my agent, my lawyer, and my best friend Lana, who nearly screamed when I texted her the final confirmation. But 3 days after the closing, the storm hit. I got a call from my mom. She didn't say hello. Why didn't you tell us, she asked, voice shaking. You didn't tell me you were selling, I said calmly. That's different, she snapped. This was supposed to help Rachel start fresh. Then maybe you shouldn't have listed it publicly, I said. I heard Dad mutter something in the background. Then Rachel came on the line. You're petty, she said. You think this proves something? I don't need to prove anything to you, I replied. But I do own the house now. You'll regret this, she said. I hung up without another word. For the first time in years, I felt still. Not triumphant, not smug, just still. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclamation, about taking back something that once held me before they made me feel like I didn't belong there. That weekend, I went to the house for the first time in years. The key turned easily. The air inside was stale but familiar. I walked through every room. My old bedroom still had the wallpaper I chose at 10. The backyard fence still bore the dent from the time Rachel crashed her bike into it and blamed me. But now, it was all mine. Every inch. The silence of the house didn't mock me. It embraced me. And for the first time, I let myself cry. Not from pain, but release. After I bought the house, I didn't move in. That was never the plan. Instead, I hired a small local renovation team. Same guys who used to mow our lawn growing up. They were surprised to see me. Didn't your sister used to live here? She never lived here, I said softly. She just took up a lot of space. We ripped out the aging carpets, refinished the kitchen in soft neutrals and polished wood. I kept the original windows in my bedroom, though the way they caught the morning light still mattered to me. It was healing work, not just for the house, for me. The renovations took 6 weeks. During that time, I got messages from Mom, then Rachel, then Dad, each more insistent, each one refusing to say the words I waited a lifetime to hear. Not sorry, not we were wrong, just you need to understand what you've done. But I didn't reply. I was done explaining. One Saturday morning, Rachel came by. I was on the front porch with my contractor, reviewing paint samples. She stepped out of her car in sleek heels, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. She didn't even knock, just marched up the steps and stood in front of me. You really bought it, she said, like the house had betrayed her. I did. Her eyes scanned the porch. They were supposed to help me. This was part of the plan. I'm not part of your plan, her voice cracked. You don't even need it. You're just doing this to get back at me. I stood slowly and looked her in the eye. I did it to remember who I was before you all decided I didn't matter. She opened her mouth, but no words came. It was the first time I'd seen her truly speechless. A week later, I hosted a quiet open house. But not to sell, to lease. To a couple with 2 young daughters and gentle voices. The kind of people who wanted to build memories, not manipulate them. When I handed them the keys, I told them, take care of it. This place raised me. The mother smiled. We will. As they left, I stood in the living room one last time. No anger, no bitterness, just peace. I walked through each room, whispering goodbye. And when I stepped outside, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I wasn't chasing their approval anymore. I wasn't the overlooked sibling trying to earn a seat at the table. I was the woman who bought the table and decided who got a place at it. 3 days after the tenants moved in, My mother showed up at my apartment. No warning. Just a knock on the door, loud and sharp. I opened it to find her standing there, arms crossed, expression brittle. "You humiliated your sister," she said. "No hello. No how are you." Rachel is heartbroken. That house meant everything to her. I blinked, stunned. Did it? Because when I was a kid, it was just where I learned to be invisible. Mom scoffed. "Oh, come on. You were never invisible. You were just quiet." "No," I said. "I was minimized, ignored, constantly compared." She rolled her eyes, like I was being dramatic. "You always made everything so emotional, and you always made everything about Rachel." That struck a nerve. She sat down stiffly on the edge of my couch. "I just don't understand why you'd do something so drastic." I sat across from her, calm. "I didn't do it to hurt anyone. I did it because I wanted to reclaim something." "You mean the house?" "No," I said. "I mean myself." She looked away, and for once, she didn't have a quick retort. Just silence. I let it stretch between us like a chasm. Then she said it, soft, hesitant. "You always were strong. We just thought you didn't need much." There it was, the excuse, the quiet admission, the damage wrapped in flattery. "I did need something," I replied. "I needed to be seen." She didn't apologize. She didn't cry. She just stood up and said, "Well, I hope you got what you wanted." I closed the door after her. Not in anger, but in finality. That was the last time she came to see me. Not out of spite, but because I think she realized something. I wasn't trying to fit into their narrative anymore. I was writing my own. Rachel, meanwhile, unfollowed me on every social platform, blocked my number. She never confronted me again, not directly. But word got back to me that she told friends I'd betrayed the family. Let her. I wasn't trying to defend myself anymore. The truth didn't need noise, just peace. And I had plenty of that now. I spent the following weeks focusing on my design studio. We landed 2 new clients. One of them was renovating a community space, ironically just 2 blocks from Rachel's new luxury apartment. I passed it once on my way to a meeting. Saw her through the window, sipping coffee, laughing with someone. For a moment I wondered if she felt anything. Loss, regret, shame. But I didn't linger. Her world didn't orbit me anymore. Mine never did. I went home that night and lit a candle by my window. Something I used to do when I was a teenager, dreaming of a life that felt like mine. Now, it was. And for the first time in decades, I didn't feel like I was catching up. I felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. By spring, things had changed. Not with Rachel, not with my parents either, but with me. There was a lightness in my chest I hadn't felt in years. For once, my choices weren't about reacting to them. They were about becoming me. I was now consulting for a developer on a modern housing project that focused on family-friendly interiors. They loved my work, not because of my degree, not because of any connections, but because I delivered results. And because I listened. One afternoon, the lead investor asked if I'd be interested in designing a flagship location in Aspen. I nearly laughed. The same Aspen where my parents had once skipped my birthday to celebrate Rachel? Life had a sense of irony. I accepted the offer. Not for revenge, but because the girl I used to be, the one who ate microwave soup alone on her birthday, she deserved this win. Meanwhile, the couple I leased my childhood home to sent me photos every month. Birthday balloons in the living room, a Father's Day cookout in the backyard, a toddler's first crayon drawing on the old fireplace mantel. That house was finally filled with joy, not guilt, not comparison, not silence. Rachel didn't know I still owned it. She thought I sold it quickly, that it was a petty flex. But I didn't. I kept it in my name. Because it wasn't just a house anymore. It was a story I'd rewritten. Then, one day, I got a letter. From my father. A real letter. Pen on paper. His tight, familiar script. "Emily, your mother and I heard about your project in Aspen. Rachel said you must have used someone's connection. But I looked it up myself. You earned it. We didn't always make the right calls. I know that now. I'm not asking you to forget anything. But maybe one day you'll come to dinner. just as yourself. Dad. I folded the letter slowly, held it for a long moment, then tucked it in a drawer. Not out of bitterness, but because I didn't need their permission to keep moving forward. Forgiveness, when it comes, will be on my terms. Not because they asked, but because I finally feel whole. That, more than anything, is what they never saw coming. The Aspen Project launched 6 months later. A team of designers, contractors, and media were on site for the opening. They handed me the mic for a small speech. I kept it short. I used to believe I had to prove my worth to be seen. But I've learned that some of the most powerful stories are the ones you write when no one's watching. This isn't just a building. It's a reminder that we all deserve to feel like we belong somewhere. The crowd clapped, polite and warm, but inside, I felt something deeper, like I had finally exhaled after years of holding my breath. I flew back home a few days later and drove past the old house. The porch light was on. Children's silhouettes danced behind the curtains. There was a wreath on the front door. It wasn't mine anymore, not in a possessive sense, but it was still a symbol of what I'd reclaimed, of what I let go. Later that evening, I got a message request on social media. From Rachel, I drove past the house today. They've painted it blue. Funny, it looks good in that color. I stared at it for a moment. No apology, no accusations, just an acknowledgement that maybe she finally understood what I'd done, what I'd needed to do. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The silence between us was no longer heavy. It was simply space. Space I had claimed for myself. That night, I sat on my apartment balcony with a glass of wine, the city lights glowing soft around me. And I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who stood alone in crowds, who waited for someone to clap, to notice, to invite her in. I smiled, gently. She never needed to catch up. She just needed room to run. Have you ever had to walk away from people you once called family? Drop your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about reclaiming your power. Send this to someone who needs to know they're not alone.